Hello and welcome to a new episode of The World of Company Secretaries. This is the interview show where we talk to company secretaries across the sectors to help you and inspire you in your journey. Joining us today is CS Prasanna Patil sir. Hello Prasanna sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
So we're very happy that you're here and you made time for this. Before we go ahead, I want the audience to have a brief understanding of background of Prasanna sir. So let's have a brief profile of him. CS Prasanna Patil is an associate member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and he has been qualified in 2006. Besides that, he's a certified associate of the Indian Institute of Bankers. He's done his master's in finance, he's done his master's in accounting, and also in a degree level, he's completed his BBM. In terms of experience, he has a rich experience of almost 15 years. He's worked in different sectors, whether it is the IT sector, then the very interesting sector of sugar and power production, and now he's in Karnataka Bank. As you know, Karnataka Bank is a 96-year-old bank. It is listed in NSE and BSE, and all of us know it's a highly regulated sector. So the challenges of being a company secretary in one of the oldest banks in India is very challenging and also interesting. So today we'll be learning from the rich experience of CS Prasanna Patil. So sir, welcome again. We are very happy that you're here. So the first thing we'd like to understand is presently what is the kind of role you have. Then we can move to how did you start CS and all that. So in brief, what is it like to be the company secretary of Karnataka Bank?
Yeah, thanks, Alok, for this sort of an interaction. Let me first put the disclaimer, as we do it professionally, is that the views expressed by me here are my personal experiences and nothing to relate to any organization or even my current employment. It is purely for the academic purpose and for knowledge sharing and sharing my experience so that it inspires people to do company secretary. So this is the only sole, I would say, purpose behind taking up this kind of interaction. So with this, we would like to begin. I've been the company secretary of Karnataka Bank since April 2017. I'm still currently holding on to it. Prior to this, I was assistant company secretary in Karnataka Bank since 2012 until 2017. So I was in the back end for about 5 years. And now for the last 4 years, I've been on the main role as company secretary. Prior to this, I was working for a sugar, as you know, there is sugar factory. Sugar factory has multiple roles to play. They generate sugar, they generate molasses, they generate electricity, they supply electricity to the states and also the industries, and also they generate liquor. So I have had a hands-on experience with that, directly dealing with farmers, which is quite very unorganized sort of sector. And prior to that, I was in software company. So it's a mix. Earlier, it was a mix of entities. Then it was MNC, multinational company. Thereafter, it was unorganized sector, and now currently a highly regulated entity, which is backbone of Indian financial system, that is banking. So with this, I've started my journey, and I've just finished around 15 years of experience. A lot to learn. I've learned a lot, and there are a lot of things which you can say it's a treasure. This role is going to give you a treasure. The treasure is knowledge, and we should know how to apply it, and then how do we succeed out of it. So it's just a beginning, and we can, as we go on to raise questions, I can go on.
Sure, sir. Definitely. I think I like you told right from IT to a sector like sugar, where you have to deal with little unorganized sector, then with a highly regulated sector of banking. So that your experience is very nice in about 15 years you've done. But this is one question we ask all our guests. Despite being the company secretary of a top bank like Karnataka Bank, there should have been a day where you did not know about the word company secretary. So how did you take this course and how did you get to know?
I started my journey when I did my degree, and I was very much aiming to join IIM. So that was my dream. And the third year of my degree, I started joining the academic examination courses, rapid test courses, and all this, only to see that I somehow wanted to get into one of the top universities for master's degree. And that was my dad dreams as well. So that's one reason where I actually wanted to pursue my career of being MBA or sort of masters in finance itself. But before I begin, I just wanted to make a statement is that since my 12th standard, I have been doing only commerce. So it's not that I have taken initially science and then I moved to the commerce background. So no, but after 10th, I've been short about what I wanted to do in my life. And therefore, it was very clear for me. Nobody pressurized me that what I should take or should not take. So that kind of environment was available. So from 10th, after 10th, 12th degree, master's degree, everything is finance and commerce. So that's one good stream I had. But at the end of third year degree, I was going through this written test examinations of a couple of banks just to become, join as a scale 1 officer and just become one of the banker. Then try this IIM examinations. I tried, of course, I could not succeed. I tried twice. The score was improving, but I had no sort of time gap available for me to do experiment anymore. And at the same time, I had to join master's degree. So I joined master's degree. During master's degree, there was the course itself is Masters in Finance and Accounting. It was a blend of courses uniquely done by the Bangalore University earlier. It was actually a mix of CA, CS, and CWA. So all the crucial elements of these three courses were mixed up, and they made it as a master's degree. So it was not a PG degree, but it's a master's certificate. So that led me to take up the next step was company secretary. So it was 2-year full time. The second year, when I touched my master's degree, I enrolled myself to CS. But after finishing my master's, suddenly I got a job in call center. Back then, when you are a youngster and if somebody gives you a huge amount of salary, you would immediately jump to it. You don't want to look at be a sort of asking a bargaining chip with your dad to ask for a pocket money. So if somebody is going to give you more than that, then probably you would like to take that chip. So I took that decision, and then it didn't run for long. Contact centers and all, of course, they're all process-oriented ones. I'm fortunate to learn a lot of processes there, but it was you can't grow beyond a limit. So that was the end point I actually got, because the master's degree taught me so many things. It was very good course, so I could get a little bit of understanding of where should I become. So I said, this is not done. I should not be like this. I can't do this anymore. You can't keep on working like a process executive at the lower end. And after 3 years, you will get promoted as a team lead. And then after 3 years, there was no sort of, so you learned a lot of things in master's degree, but you cannot apply. You can't get a headroom to apply. I'm not saying that we should get a vice president job, but at least you should be an assistant to vice president to see what you learn is more mature. So that was I was anticipating. So this pocket money was ended up in some time, and then I quit from that, and then I told my dad saying, Dad, I will finish my CS and then I will start working. Then he asked me one question: are you serious about it? Because your time is running. You need to be employed. You need to be think from the family's perspective. I know that there will be a lot of pressure for guys. Is that you should, after finishing your degree or master's degree, you should immediately get a job. Only if you get a job, then you will get a girl, or you will be able to get an alliance, so that you will get married, you will raise children. So it is quite natural that the parents, they would expect this kind of, no matter what a scale of income it is, even whether they are rich or medium class or poor class, it doesn't matter. But they're most of the time, 99% of the age group, even if there are businessmen, I'm sure they would have seen their children, they wanted it to get some job so that they will get some girl. So these are the anticipations which we need to keep it in mind and respect our parents. So I had no choice but to give them a timeline and saying, give me 3 years time or 4 years time. If I don't do anything, I will join some company so that I will not trouble you. So my parents were comfortable enough to say that, okay, this guy is determined to do something, so we'll relieve him. So I joined the course, and then I joined the intermediate classes in Bangalore. The IC chapter, Institute Bangalore chapter, used to conduct classes. So I made a couple of friends there, and then, we started writing intermediate examination. Back then it was called as intermediate and final.
Correct.
Yeah. So there were 8 papers in the intermediate, group, 2 groups of 4 papers each, and 9 papers in final, 3 papers each in one module, three modules. So I had 17 papers to write. Because of master's degree, I had some kind of an experience of what the papers would look like. So I'm very fortunate to say so, because the meaning of accounting standards back then, there were only, AS, they were called as AS Accounting Standards 28 or 29 back then. So I vividly remember that when I learned about it in master's degree, but when I immediately started learning them in the company secretaryship course, it was not so difficult for me to digest and go forward. So that is one fortunate thing. So all the subjects were not so difficult because of 2 reasons. One is the analytical skills required to grasp things in the paragraph or in the subject. You will be taught in the IIM written examinations. So you will have 2-3 pages of comprehensive reading, and then you need to answer it within 2 hours time. Out of that comprehensive will give you only 15 minutes. So you got to do speed reading. All these things I had learned earlier. So this was not useful for me in joining any reputed college, but they were useful in applying them in a different scenario, and I could succeed. With this background and knowledge that I had from master's degree in finance. So, of course, there was a little bit of overconfidence, which usually comes up when you are in, when you don't know what is the meaning of failure. Because one thing in India we can say is until degree or master's degree or even higher up, we would have never seen a fail, the word called fail, in our certificates, or 1 or 2 paper subject fail and all that. We would have never seen, especially in commerce graduates, or even up to 10th standard, probably nobody would like to see that they were fail. So one, probably I would say it's a back-end process which is already there in our mind, comfort zone, I would say, or a subconscious mind, is that we will not fail. So so when we say this, that we will not fail, that's the confidence initially the students move towards. Okay, see us, no, okay, let's find and let's do it. So when they start doing it, similar way I did it. And when I wrote, there were 2 groups, both the groups I wrote, and one group I cleared because it was comfortable for me. The second group had tax laws, and the tax laws and financial management were clubbed to, in the sense, tax laws is 100, financial management is 100. These 2 were clubbed up in the same group, and it was very tough group to clear to go to finance. So I was very confident. I still remember a guru who's a company secretary in Bangalore, and he's a practicing company secretary today. After writing these 2 modules, he asked all the students at that point of time. He said, Prasanna, what's your confidence level? I was in my playful mood to say, yeah, I'm pretty confident that I will clear both the groups. I'm okay with it. He asked me one question which I could not digest back then, was that, what if you don't clear? And I was, the blunt answer from me is, there is no chance of that. I've not thought about it, and I don't even think about it. And you will not believe that was my first such failure. As I saw the results, only one group was cleared, another one was failed. In tax laws, I got a very horribly low, which I would have never dreamt in my life. Back then, again, the same group called me. I call him guru because he was the one who led me how to work towards it. And he called me, he said, personally, he called me, he said, Prasanna, I believe you failed in the second module. What's the reason? So I told him, sir, this is the score I got in each of every subject. Then he said, that means you are good in FM, financial management, but looks like you are not so comfortable with income tax. I said, no, sir, in degree I've learned tax. I've learned it in master's degree. I am not bound to fail in this. This was my attitude that you will usually get.
Okay.
And but with that, he said, no, company secretary course is not like your degree course or master's degree. So that one lesson that day I learned is that we can't take things for granted, and we need to be a little bit more serious about it.
Yeah.
And when we say serious, it's not a question of keep on ratifying things. It's more of common sense, analytical skills, application of knowledge that you've learned, gather information and experience from the seniors. All these things counts. So it's not about one aspect of, okay, one person may be having a very good photogenic memory, but I think he should also know how to apply it at the right time. So what is the right time is your examination. So that's more important.
As you were speaking, actually, there are two things which I think all our viewers should really take note of. One is you're telling, yes, it was quite attractive to go to a BPO, but you also mentioned that there's really no growth over there in the long term. And that is one thing which we need to take note of. And the second thing is, you were very frank in saying that, yes, you did have a tough time with one of the groups and that overconfidence which you had, and later you were able to clear it. So everybody goes through this, even somebody who's been in a very top position now, everybody would have gone through that. Sir, now that you told us about your student journey, can you tell us a little bit about the CS training time? So where did you do the training and how was that experience?
Again, I'm very fortunate to say that, the more you get, the tougher situations for you, the more stronger you would become and the more confident you become. Yes. The only skill required is that I want to survive and I want to sustain. It's not a race here, because today who's successful might be failure tomorrow. Today, whoever is failure today might be successful tomorrow. And it's the journey keeps going around. It's not that, it's a one-time cycle. So today you would be successful, tomorrow you're failure, day after tomorrow you're successful, again a failure. This keeps coming up and down. It doesn't matter. But you will be away from it once you see that, okay, you can get over with both. That is more important. So when I say this with this background is from the angle of, as a trainee, I worked under Titan Industries Limited under the leadership of Madam Usha Iyengar. She's in Bombay currently. She was a phenomenal guru for me to teach a lot of things about financial management and also about the legal aspects, vetting of documents and all that. She was associated with Tata for a couple of times, and she had a lot of experience. And Tata is, I can just say that Tata's group companies have a lot of code of conduct to follow. So they are the very good companies to work for. That much I can say because I worked there. In my 15 months journey, I worked under training under Madam Usha Iyengar. And initially, I was given the basic work, which is quite okay, because initially when you join as a trainee, they will not give you everything crucial. So they will just gauge your experience and knowledge, understanding how much you know, how much you can apply your mind and all that. So based on that, they will start slowly giving up more and more responsibility. So do not expect, overnight getting you a huge amount of responsibility because you just finish your CS center or midway through and you are eligible to become trainee. So you will get a very crucial job. Sometimes you will get only the data entry job or only the raw jobs. That is okay. After that, sometime I wrote my CS final. Back then, there was an advantage of writing CS final. And I took a risk of writing all the 9 papers together, that is all the 3 groups at one shot. The reason I took was there were 2 reasons for it. One is that I will not be allowed to take more than 45 days leave in a year, which is, again, I think it's a standard statement even now also. The other thing is I cannot go on, doing the same thing. Like, I used to get 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. I used to catch 2 buses to go to that station and come back. So during that time, I used to go, it was little expensive for me back then, but I used to afford it to see that, catch an Volvo bus, because back then in Bangalore, the Volvo buses are like air conditioned, most comfortable. Hardly any crowd used to be there. So I used to get a seat, sit there, and not much of bumpy ride. So sit there and we should be able to read books. You'll not believe I used to read morning one chapter, evening one chapter. By the time go home at night and make a notes of morning chapter and evening chapter. Both I used to do. So that was the time management which I did. It was a little bit tough time because we had a lot of things in the office to do at the same time, even in come back home and then do all this circus. And once I attempted all the 3 groups, and I'm fortunate to say that I've cleared all the 3 groups in one attempt. And once I cleared that, the boss was quite happy, and she gave me a lot of responsibilities, because there was another, I think, 6 to 8 months left for the training. But then she started giving me a lot of crucial jobs to work for, drafting of agreements, crucial agreements, vetting them, and looking at Companies Act, drafting of notices, drafting of contents in annual report, not all, but some parts of the contents of annual report, and looking at the agendas and how sequentially organizing them. All these things were like given to me as responsibility, and I could deliver it also. Sometimes I used to make mistakes. She used to correct me. Whenever I had a doubt on legality, said why it should be, for example, there's a covenant of jurisdiction. There's always a fight for a jurisdiction in the agreement when it comes to disputes. Is that whether if I'm a client or if I'm at the receiving end, I will have to accept whatever the jurisdiction of the other guy is saying. So no matter, even if it is Singapore, I'll have to accept it. But if I'm at the giving end, I will define what is my jurisdiction. So these are the ones which she taught me about how to define them, how to negotiate them in wordings. This was very basic, at that point of time, nobody will go so depth to teach you all this. That helped me out in improving my drafting skills. So this was about my training journey.
Yes, sir. So in the training, I think what you spoke, I'm sure many who are watching this should take a leaf out of it. That is, in the training period, it was not easy, but you used to study on the bus in the morning and in the evening, then again go back late and make notes. As you said, it was somewhat like a circus, but it was really worth it because you could clear all the 3 modules in your first attempt. And like you told, you had a great boss who taught you wonderful things. So as you were completing training,
Yeah,
how did you feel?
point.
Yes,
Sorry,
please.
I just want to mention one point is
Yes.
that there is something called as comfort zone.
Yeah.
Back then, I used to get a stipend of some 6,000 plus, and the comfort zone is that you want to save money, you have to take a local bus, but you want to afford it for the future investment, probably you have to spend it then. So there is no both things coming up colliding together in one point of time. It's not that all the time, but sometimes, for the mid-income group people, you will have to have this sort of, in Hindi, they call it as jugaad. The reason why I'm saying this is because, I have to spend it to see that I get the comfort of reading and time and effort, which I cannot afford to do in any other time. So if I can buy it by paying money, where is the question of comfort?
Exactly.
Right? So we need to keep that in mind, that the comfort is not from the point of view of what money can buy or what money can't buy. It's purely a trade-off between what is required for you at that point of time to balance it.
Yeah. So like you were also mentioning that it was more about the time management, and like you used the word jugaad, which really helped you to sail through that period. Yeah. So as we go further, as you were finishing your training and you're qualified, so what did you see as the future? Like, did you think of which sector you want to get into, or what the future lies ahead for a company secretary like you? So what was your thought process then?
Immediately as I finished my CS, I had 3 offers in my hand. As soon as I finished, I had 3 offers because I was triple qualified. Back then, there were not much of so much of qualification lined up in early 2000. probably 2006 or 2007. I had BCom, MBA, as well as the CS, and I also almost finished my LLB papers also, because it will be not much of a difficulty when you do CS. So LLB also almost I had finished. So you will have 4 qualifications and the resume looks good. So I had 3 offers in my hand. One from software, one from the manufacturing industry, and the third one is from a practicing company secretary, asking me to join him as a partner. He was quite sure that I was knowledgeable, and his confidence that my experience will, I can do something which we together can do something really good. So first thing he did was he came to my house and he offered, saying that, congratulations, my, I'm opening up my, firm to you for joining. But again, we have a race in terms of joining the company. Now CS is over. Again, I have a responsibility to my parents to say that, okay, unless you join a company, you don't have salary, you will not get, you will not be able to define your future. So this is another issue which we need to solve. So with this proposition in mind, I said, let me take up a company. So back then, the more importance was given towards software company. So naturally, I chose a software company. So that's why I went on to join a software company as an assistant company secretary there. I did there for about 1.5 years or so. And yeah.
Yes, sir. So you went to the software, and that was a nice thing. Like you said, it was the parents who were preferring that you go to a company, and you did that. Now, what is very interesting in your journey is the sugar and power. Like you said, it's little unorganized, but also very challenging. Not many will take that challenge, because me, myself, being a company secretary and having so many friends and seniors, many people get such options, but they really don't take it. How did you decide from software, which is so polished, and going to a sugar industry? How did you take that decision, and how was your time there? What kind of experiences were there?
I can assure you one thing, Alok, is you will, all the company secretaries would have gone through some situation in their life, or they might go through also. Is that, you will have to take up, make or deal. So in a sense, you will have to sometimes take a hard steps or hard decisions. Sometimes organizations take, sometimes the employees will have to take. I also get calls now with my equivalent experienced people saying that, I want to quit. I want to join another company. I'm frustrated, this, that, and all. This is part of the life. So you can't say that I'm all the time happy 365 days, 24/7. I think that's very incorrect to say so.
Correct.
And again, being a youngster at that point of time, at the age of 26 or 27 or so, I decided it's better to move on. So I moved on. Fortunately, the company was able to help me out. And then parallelly, there was an offer from another company from sugar and power industry. It was again a remote location far away from Bangalore, 450 or 500 kilometers away from Bangalore. I went there. They saw me. They had an interview, and they say, "Why do you want to come to this organization?" Was the toughest question which they asked. Of course, I had attended more than 20 interviews, so it doesn't matter for me to give a truth what is to be given. So that helped me to answer them. They selected me. They gave me a job. The choice is, why did I select? The question is, why did I select this? Where I can get many other companies in Bangalore. Of course, yes. If I could wait for some more time, I will get better, deals in Bangalore also. Doesn't matter. But I somewhat felt that when there is an offer like having multiple entities, and it's a very small organization, 750 plus employees, and company secretary is not only the role of company secretary. There was a central excise, taxation, accounting, financial management. You will not believe all those things I could get, experience. So there will be some sort of dilemma in the, just now past company secretaries, that should they join a large entity as a listed entity and become an assistant CS to learn things, or should they join a smaller company so that they will get the basket of every other process like finance, accounts, taxation, legal, one or the other process. For that matter, one of my friends is also handling head HR. So you never know what kind of roles that you will get into when you join a small organization. So I felt that that's a better option to learn, because it's the most complicated industry. When it comes to liquor, beverages, it is highly regulated entity. And when it comes to sugar, again, it is regulated by, but a little bit of politics also there, because there's a lot of farmers involved. Every sugar factory takes care of, I think, to my understanding, 15,000 plus farmers.
Oh.
So plus 700 to 800 employment. And it is only seasonal, like only 6 months in a year it works, another 6 months it doesn't work. So it was highly unorganized, and you can't have the systems, processes, rules all the time functioning for you at your level. Back then it was not possible. Today it's possible because you have technology to monitor and all that. Earlier it was not the case at all. Having mobile phone itself back then in office itself was a privilege. That too feature phone, not this smartphone and all that. So given that situation, managing all those processes was quite interesting. The boss, the owner of that factory, could quickly grasp my what I can do, what I cannot do. Immediately started giving me all the jobs. And finance, accounting, taxation, balance sheet management, going to the banks to prepare project reports, expansion reports, everything was given to me. So in order to prepare, there was an expansion project going on. They wanted to expand the plant. So they said, oh, DPR preparation is done by one of the technical evaluation companies. They usually call it TEVs, technical evaluating companies like Midcon and all that. But when they prepare the notes, when they prepare these project reports, you will have to read it. So I had an experience in degree for preparation of project reports. I had an experience of preparing in master's degree preparation of project report. So I could get what is the meaning of project report. So read everything, but not only reading, understand the process, what sugar factory is all about, how much sugar cane goes in, how much will come out as sugar, how much will come out as bagasse, how much production of power can happen, where you can save, how much money you can make. See, for example, when you see the DPR, the detailed project report is given to the banker. The banker will come for an inspection when they want to give you a loan. Who will explain to them? So either the finance head has to explain, technical team has to explain. But actually, I'm very fortunate to say the boss gave me such kind of a liberty, saying that you go on to explain. Every time a banker came, I used to take them around to the entire plant, explain them pin to pin process. They used to ask me, what is this process? Why do you have such a big silo? Why do you have this machine? Why don't you have this? He was already experienced, but he wants to ask me questions. So it's a sort of an interview. So as soon as he knows, okay, there is a key managerial personnel who knows the process. So the fundamental is not only after joining the company secretary as doing your secretarial function, you should also know the business in which you are. You should digest the business so that you should be able to provide your support services whenever it is required. You never know which opportunity will come and knock your door for which process or which head. So we need to know the processes. So it's not only about knowing the laws and compliance, but also about the business. If we do not know the business, and if we do not know the expectation of the bosses or the business owners under whom we are employed, it becomes a bit difficult, because their expectation is profit management. Your expectation is to compliance management. So there is a trade-off between both. And you see a lot of, even in newspapers also, you see a lot of failures in large organizations happening. You see failures in small organizations. You see successes happening in smaller organizations multiple times. In the recent past, there are a couple of IPOs which have, today their tradability is multiple X times. You can't even imagine at what rate they have gone through. So these are all things which the industries will go through. But it's all about the bosses and their expectation plus the compliance aspect. So there, learning the finance, taxation, central excise. Back then, we didn't have this GST concept.
Correct.
There was such a complicated process of central excise and customs. So central excise had an n number of notifications applicable for us. We had to defend them. There were a lot of notices coming up. We had to answer them. We had to give a draft reply. Of course, there will be consultants, but every other notice, it used to be on my table saying, they used to write saying, CS, underlined for your information. So everything it comes to me only for reading, see that what answer I can give. It makes a lot of learning. So accept what comes, you'll be able to gain more.
Yeah, I think another thing which is really interesting is that, like you were telling, if you are ready, you can take up multiple opportunities, because the last thing somebody would think is a company secretary knowing about the business and even explaining the detailed project report at the plant to the bankers. So if you are ready, the opportunities will knock. I think that message is very clear for us. So now that you have worked in IT, then a wonderful experience in a sugar industry, which has different kinds of role, and also you told you did not just secretarial but everything under the sun, which is finance or banking and all that. Then when we talk about this, when was that time when you made a shift to banking industry, which is a huge step in your career?
Again, it's another, I would say there was, I wanted to take a break because it was, I had roughly about 2.5, 3 years experience back then in the sugar factory. I had a lot of varieties of experiences, varieties of process related experience. But I wanted to come back to Bangalore, reinstate myself. And I took a risk of coming back. So I took a break for some time. And finally, there was an offer from this present organization for a secondary role. And I took that role to learn about banking. So I was looking for multiple roles. For example, basically I was looking for a, back then, again today also, the one of the important industries today is biotechnology. I was looking for some sort of industries to join, or chemical industry. These were my areas to look for, because I had some knowledge about, I already gained a knowledge about, sugar power distillery, how the distillery, how the production works, how the liquor is generated, produced, and how it's bottled, how it's sold, what is the supply chain management. So I wanted to go a little bit further. So I took a risk. I came back to Bangalore, waited for some time to see some companies. But then when this offer came up, then I took this offer, the secondary role to banking. With the only intention is to see that, banking will have a lot of such industries coming up for loans. So we would get to know what the business is. See, my crux in, way of looking at the job is know businesses, NOW, know the businesses. That is an important factor as a company secretary. So we need to know businesses, then only we can support or give our support as a compliance officer. Of course, there is a mandate requirement for the companies. We have the cost to the companies if you're taking care of only as a company secretary. But knowing businesses is more important for us to give our better services. So that's one reason which fueled my idea that okay, I want to join this bank. And I joined, and for first 5 years, I learned a lot of things under my boss. He was a nice guru for me. He taught me a lot of things. And the software company was MNC, so they had system-driven, system-driven sort of activities. The second phase was sugar and power industry, 50-50. And when I came to banking, it was more of process-driven. There is an RBI circular, you need to follow it. So you have some framework. It's not only about systems, but also there is a process. So a lot of processes were driven. You need to work towards compliance to those RBI circulars. So we are regulated by multiple regulators. One is Reserve Bank, one is Companies Act, another one is SEBI because we are listed. So during the process, I could gain a lot of experience about what processes are, why there is so much of importance for process. Because the industry is such, the process is important. Sometimes it looks longer or lengthy, but it is in order to protect the entire system, the processes have been implemented. We have to follow them. In promoter-based companies, you can expect some sort of shortcuts. But in financial entities or banking, there are no shortcuts. We have to follow the process. We have to go through the process. So that I could learn.
Okay. So now, as you are telling about the different kind of regulators and the nature of the job, I'm sure is quite challenging. But just to get an idea for the viewers, how does your average day look like? Because I'm sure it's quite a busy day, but on an average, generally, what are the kind of things which you do on a day?
Let me begin with one statement is that once you take up CS course, there is a mentality for the degree students to or master's degree students to, thinking that, okay, Saturday, Sunday, you have a weekends. There is no such thing called as weekend once you grow up the ladder. Take it from me, all the listed entity, company secretaries, or any other, top-notch leaders will agree with me that there is no Saturday and Sunday for us. There is no holiday for us. Whenever we want, we will be given the liberty because they trust us so much that wherever we are able to deliver. But in order to reach that stage, you need to, build yourself to that level. So, so once you start taking up the course of company secretary, okay, Monday to Friday I'll study, Saturday I'll go out, Sunday it's a relaxing time, friends, brothers, engagement is there, ye hai, wo hai. So these things I think we'll have to cut down until you become CS. Is to see that, every Saturday, Sunday is not seen as a holiday time, but it's a working day. So you work 7 days a week, people will say, no, you will mentally get fatigued or, ye hai, wo hai, you need a relaxation. Of course, you can take a break. It's not that you can't take a break. But you need to buckle up yourself to say that, you are making yourself, you are expressing informally to your management to say that you are available all the time. That's the confidence which will help them to, take work from you. It's not that you have to work all the time. So coming back to the question of how many hours or what the day would look like is, average will be roughly about 12 hours every day. There is no Saturday or Sunday. Even on Saturday, Sundays, I work. It's not that there is a lot of spillover, but there are so many processes. I'm sure many other banking fraternity company secretaries would agree with me. There are a lot of processes which sometimes will come in the year end, sometimes will come in the half year end, sometimes will come in the quarter end. So all these things, you have multiple regulators, multiple filings to do. Not that my juniors won't do it. Even if they do it, it is always my duty to cross-check what they're filing, whether it is in the same, in tandem what we file. With all these things, we would still see that there are a lot of failures from my side also. So I cannot say that there are no failures. We can't afford to say so because otherwise you will not see in the newspaper saying that the SEBI has penalized a particular company secretary or company has paid this penalty to this this regulator or company has been fined for this. In spite of doing all this, that means compliance cost is, there is a cost for the compliance, but the cost for the non-compliance is 10 times than, or maybe much higher than the compliance cost. Yet there will be a lot of frameworks. There will be conflicts between the regulators. SEBI says one, Reserve Bank says one, Companies Act says one. But in Companies Act, of course, there's one headroom saying listed entities will follow SEBI LODR. So to that extent, we will end up following the listed requirements, SEBI LODR. But we have one more regulator who says beyond that. So these things are, we need to keep in mind, and we have a time and effort based schedule. One more thing is, in terms of other listed entities are concerned, you know, generally I'm saying promoter-based industries are concerned. Usually for the such listed entities, you will have between 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 meetings in a year, board meetings plus the committee meetings put together. Maybe around 10 to 12 meetings or maybe 14 meetings at the most.
Yeah.
But in our case, what happens is for not everything the board can meet. So you can go and check with any other company, I mean banks. You will see that there will be a subcommittee for credit sanction. So it will meet almost like a monthly basis. So when you ask me the number of meetings, you can go and check my annual report. You will find that at least there will be 50 meetings in a year. So if you ask me secretarial standards, we need to follow for all the 50 meetings. Plus minutes, action taken report, plus RBI compliance, routine, SEBI, MCA, you know, and on top of it, in 2016, the bank came out with a rights issue. So if there is a rights issue or a QIP, like in last year, we took a QIP's resolution approval, the due diligence process starts. Prior to that rights issue, once we declare for rights issue, then there will be a due diligence process, which will start. So if it starts, then again, 3 months is very crucial. You need to give last 5 years data. You need to maintain everything and give them. So as I said, it's process driven, paper driven. So because of these reasons, our entire day will be always occupied. In addition to it, there will be a couple of other, calls coming up asking from the, former companies and even the board members. Either they want to guide us or they want to take guidance on certain, companies act related or SEBI requirement related. This morning also came a call. I received a call from another a company independent director relating to the Schedule 4 implementation of Schedule 4 of the companies at which you never know which kind of call will come for asking for guidance. So we will always be ready with it.
Yeah, so actually that brings me to the next question. As you were explaining, this question has two parts. The first part is, what do you think are the 3-4 key skills to make sure that you do your job properly with full confidence? Because like you said, multiple regulators and so many meetings and making sure that everything is in order, we can't miss a single thing. So what are the 3-4 important skills? The second part of the question is, how do you update yourself? Because whether it is the new laws, the amendments, or our existing secretarial standards, we have to keep updating ourselves with the new circulars and regulations which come from RBI and SEBI. So this is a little long question, but if you could explain both of this.
Yeah. The first part is what are the key skills required for us to sort of maintain this key post? First one, I would say first one, a very important one is the people management. When I say people management, you have your subordinates or colleagues, staff will be reporting to you. You need to manage them. You need to be friendly with them so that you need to divide the roles and responsibilities to see that what you are supposed to get out of them, you should be able to get out of them. One. Second thing is, you are as a people management, again, you have your bosses. As we grow up the ladder, we will not have one boss, but we'll have multiple bosses. When I say multiple bosses, one is the managing director. We will have a chairman. You will have directors. Out of that, you have audit committee chairman who would be independent. So he is also another boss, because when it comes to audit committee, he has his own, X and Y's to say so. Not only in this company, but I have seen in my even unorganized sector also. The audit committee chairman will be like another boss. So you have another set of things. So the directors are sort of bosses. Shareholders are bosses because you go and you have some expectations to fulfill from the or for and on behalf of the management. So they are all bosses. We have regulators as bosses. When I say so, in terms of SEBI LODR, compliance is okay. But in RBI, there will be a lot of interaction with the regulators on an ongoing basis. So even their expectation is they will send a query immediately, they want an answer. So that also happens. We share experiences, we share knowledge with them. They share their experience and knowledge with us so as to fine tune everything. So this goes on an ongoing basis. what is important is first skill is people management. How friendly you are, how welcoming you are is more important, because that is when you will be able to receive a lot of queries and you don't know the answer. It is fine, but you should be able to explore it, give an answer back. Then, people will start coming to you. So don't have an expectation that, okay, why should I share my knowledge? That won't work. Today's world is very, very easy. Go to, in the internet, you will get everything. Why would somebody call you to ask this guidance? Because they know that this person gave a more accurate sort of
Expert
experience,
opinion.
added experience with the knowledge, gives more clarity towards what could be the best judgment. So that is more important. So for that reason, you need to upgrade your skills. So that is the second important skill required, is upgrade your skills. When I say upgrading skills, it's not about only the knowledge of the law, but also understanding the hidden meanings which are behind such implementation. You should understand why did that law came into picture, why there is so much of lock-in for related party transactions, why there is so much lock-in for acceptance of deposits, or raising NCDs or convertible debentures or whatever debentures as such. Why there is so much of conditions that we need to follow, because there is some strategy behind it. So you need to see that whether your company is capable and can withstand that load. Then only you can think of it. So it's more of financial management, which is more important. So from that angle, so first skill is people management. How friendly you are, how quickly you will be able to talk to them, get the information, or uh, see, sometimes we make mistakes. It's not that we don't make mistakes, but you should be able to quickly go back to them and say, apologize, we made this mistake, can you please pardon us? It doesn't matter, because you are in the process of doing things correctly. So it's quite natural that you will have a little bit of spillover when you have so much of things in the plate. And second thing is about upgrading your skills. I'll come back to it in the second part of your question. And the third thing is your time management. You will learn it when you do your CS course, but when you join an organization, when there is a saying that uh, uh, expectation inflates expectation. So once you meet a particular expectation, the expectation from you will inflate. So you will be asked to do double job or maybe triple job. That's how you would have seen a couple of vice presidents and big time company secretaries. They have grown up only when they have expressed this confidence. Yes, I can do this. So that's one other thing. So you need to be always mentally prepared for it. So in order to do so, you need to know how to prioritize your things. You need to know how to prioritize your responsibilities, and also the time management. Time management is very crucial. When I say 8 to 10 meetings in a year in a listed entity, they would find it pretty comfortable. Imagine if I do 30, 40 meetings in a year. You can imagine my time schedule. So
Definitely.
if you ask me for the entire financial year, we will be blocking the dates, barring for those results ones. We will be blocking all the dates for all. So if you ask me until March 2022, my dates are all booked.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So
So
these are the
coming to
important.
how do you upgrade yourself and update yourself?
Yeah. There are various ways which you can think of. Of course, everybody has it in their plate. One is your WhatsApp group. You will keep on getting a lot of updates. One or the other guy will keep on forwarding the links. Today, if there is a circular from a particular regulator, immediately within half an hour, 1 hour, it will start popping in. That is all fine. But if you work as a practicing company secretary, or if you work as a listed entity company secretary, or even for that matter any company secretary, it is always prudent to have some sort of a software tool, compliance management related ones, which will keep on giving you a daily basis or a weekly basis what are the updates coming up from various regulators. It could be GST, income tax, SEBI, and Companies Act, RBI. All these things will come back as a compendium. That is more important, because whatever you see in your WhatsApp group, they are all piecemeals. Today it comes, it goes out. So that is one important thing, is to have a software tool. Another thing is, if the company secretaries are being paid well enough, then it doesn't matter even if you pay from your personal pocket to get that personal email. It doesn't matter because it's just like you're polishing yourself. So you need to invest yourself, right? So it doesn't matter. So it's not a question of money. It's a question of you being right. You're trying to be right. So for that reasons, even if you're paying from your pocket, it doesn't matter. Subscribe to it to see that you get the update of all these rules and regulations and circulars. That is one. Second thing is, as soon as it comes, I download it, and what I do is we usually take up a rough sheets for all the earlier printouts which are not required, and I take a print, mark it on a word to word on a pencil to see is there any hidden meaning into it, this circular. So of course, some people would have been dependent on laptops to work on, and some people work on iPad also. That is also there with me. But when it comes to laws and upgradations, I still follow the conventional method of, like a student, I take the printout on a rough sheet, not on a fair sheet, take on a rough sheet and then mark it. I even have a printer at home and also papers at home. At my own expense, I take a printout and see that I make mark one by one with pencil like a student, make a notes out of it. I have a diary there, make a note out of it to remember it, because you can't remember everything in this world and every day there is a new circular coming up for a different regulator. It becomes very difficult. But in order to remember all these things, the only conventional way to remember all these things is by way of taking a printout, making notes out of it, just like a studentship. So I cannot say that I'm not a student. I am a student. After completing CS, you are a more polished students. That's all I can say. So
that's actually a very interesting anecdote, sir. I'm sure this will really inspire a lot. In fact, many people say that we should just study in the laptop only, but still, as you said, to understand the law, it is always better to take a printout, of course, like you said, on a rough sheet, and understand the true intention of the law, where it is coming from. That was a very interesting anecdote. Sir, going further, a little different tangent I want to ask, because you have been seeing different sectors, IT, then sugar, and then power generation, then the banking sector. For someone who's been around for 15 years or more, where do you see the company secretary profession going, and where do you think it can go if all the company secretaries equip themselves with different skills?
It's a very tricky question, of course. Why I say this is from the kind of experience that I've gained is, company secretaries, 50% of the job role is to do a procedural activities. Why do I call it procedural? Is assume you get a new notification today that you have to comply. Once you know you need to comply, it becomes part of your checklist, it becomes process. Every year you need to do it. Every year you need to file AOC 4, MGT 7, these are all part of your routine. There is no much of, I would say, applying your mind other than knowing what is required to be disclosed. Once you know what is to be disclosed and why they are expecting this information, once you digest it, it becomes procedural. So, there are two shelves. What is coming new and what is in the process.
Yeah.
So keeping this in mind, I can say one thing is that, a lot of regulators are tightening the situations when it comes to regulations. You would have seen that in the recent past, is that the regulators are, though they are giving relaxations in terms of business processes are concerned, but in terms of compliance is concerned, they are tightening the things. So the role of company secretary is going to grow. To my understanding, it will grow, but we need to keep two things in mind. One is that the information of the law is accessible to everyone today, including your bosses, wherever you are working is promoter or non-promoter based. And what you were referring to earlier, that book of big book or small book, it doesn't matter today, because you have a email subscription. Companies Act itself, MCA, has its own ebook available, and a couple of other websites also provide you the complete amended, as on today amended, the entire section is available.
Correct.
Rules are also available immediately next to it. So it's not going to be big deal or big effort for you as a company secretary, or as, if you are reporting to a CFO, assume you report to a CFO in a listed entity or any other company for that matter. The CFO would be chartered accountant, and he would also be qualified to an extent. Sometimes they are also chartered accountant. Multiple qualification will be there, but their main area is about financial management. So they would know that there is an amendment because they also get a intimation. You will also know because you get an intimation. So what's the difference between you and him? You can't go and explain to him because he also knows, he can understand this. So as I said, 2 points to be kept in mind is the information is available and accessible to all. So what is important is how cost effective way we can ensure compliance to it, yet at the same time see that the company is fully compliant. Second thing is, from the angle of you asked for a versatility, there are different fields which are opening up for company secretaries, and some of them even grown to become managing directors of companies, because they sit in the board, they get that experience, they get the experience of multiple people. By when they share their experience, that's how we get the experience also. Not necessary that you go through experience. You will learn from somebody, you will also get to know what it is all about. So that's another thing. So, why I said this is from the angle of company secretaries should adopt themselves to the new wave that is coming up. So compliance management, sometimes they are going for an artificial intelligence, and some things they are coming out, and compliance management tools are coming up. So some people would find some sort of a complacency or maybe discomfort, saying, what is this? We'll have to simply comply with this. We know Companies Act, we know this, that. But if you widen your requirement, for example, somebody wants to expertise himself in foreign exchange management, income tax. Some people are there in GST. I know a company secretary who is expert in GST. I know a company secretary who is an advocate today. Until 11 p.m. at night, there'll be people who will be lined up to get his advice. And, it's a profession where you can expand yourself. So at point of time, you would try and explore a particular territory, but sometimes you end up failure. That is okay. It is just a time and effort which has gone, but not necessary that either sort of say that okay, this profession we don't have comfort. No, all I can say is you have multiple fields to take care of. For example, you asked me, my interesting area was financial management. So even today also, it also earlier, I focus more on financial management. That's my idea, but that's my area. So that's about investments, and then basically looking at projections, profitability, business model. These are my interesting areas. So I try to focus on this even after my job role. My job role may not be acquiring my skills at this moment, but I can keep on polishing my skills to see that whenever I want to come out and do something, I can do on this. This is another thing. And the last point I'm saying is, again, when you ask this question of where the company secretaryship is going to head, is that the company secretaries should understand the businesses in which they are employed. If they are practicing company secretary, whoever is their client, they should know their processes in and out. That is when I can become practicing company secretary. Because if you work in an organization, you know what's the process is all about, how difficult it is to implement a particular thing. So we need to learn this as a part of process. Even if it is a little bit hard, it doesn't matter. But once we learn, you know how to guide. So it's just like a doctor, a profession of a doctor, MBBS. And so since you asked this question of future is always bright for company secretaries. That much I can tell. Provided we understand the business in which we are or to whom we are serving. It doesn't matter how many clients we have, but we should know the business. We should know the financial management. We should know taxation aspect, or even the Companies Act aspect is concerned. They are more or less a regulation of framework. You have a related party, you need to do this. Why do you have to do this related party? Because you are taking care of bank's finance. There is a bank's finance involved, so you should not dilute it. You should not siphon it. This is one reason. Or you have a public money by way of equity or by way of NCDs. You need to protect that. So that is why you need to have so much of stringent policies and processes. You need to see that you are protecting somebody else's asset on which you are dependent for this business. This is the fundamental. So because of these reasons, these laws are there. What is ultimately important is how far you can go to contribute yourself to the being not only cost center, but also towards revenue generation. Can you help the organization by connecting to your professionals in other entities and see that, okay, you are in, assume you are in, say, manufacturing or precision tools, which are used in watches or airplanes and all that. So if you have a professional friends who are working in the vendors, company, or you're working in the, the customer's company, you know them, try to connect them for your organization. That will widen your, base. One. Second thing is you are actually helping the management saying there is another way to look at it. Okay, there is another competitor. So you are actually not only looking at, you are doing your job, no doubt about it, but connecting with your professional friend, getting a client to you or getting a good vendor to you actually helps the promoters to know that, okay, this guy is not only doing a, simply a compliance job, but he's trying to build, connect the dots to see that he is truly working for the organization. I'm talking from employment, but when you are in practicing company secretary, in fact, this process will be multifold. You will have, various types of customers. You will have a bakery unit. You will have a hotel management. You will have, precision engineering. You will have sugar and power industry. You name it, you will have an industry with you. But if you are connected with the company secretaries of those companies, or you're fully handling everything, try and see that, how far you can go one step ahead. Again, it's a general principle of management is that go that extra mile. As a company secretary, if you go the extra mile of understanding the business, his requirement, and somebody who can fulfill that requirement, if you can fill that gap, they will remember you for a lifetime without any expectation. See, another question here is, I connect him, I need mereko ye chahiye. Matlab, I need to get some billing to be done. That is okay, it's all your policy and process. But connecting them, making them business, making them profitable, they will remember you for lifetime because you help them with their nth hour. For example, somebody is very crucially requiring, in the current world of lockdowns in a couple of states and all that, you see that some of the businesses will be going down. How far you can go in? I'm not saying you should keep on looking at it, but there is an opportunity for you to look in this way that will help the company secretaries to widen their horizon, and the promoters or the company owners will start respecting you more because you're working towards connecting the dots which are required for them. So he will not go out of you.
Okay, I think what you're telling, the biggest takeaway is very interesting. I think, in fact, the first guest on our show is telling is know the business and know the processes. And if you're ready to go that extra mile, you will get a lot of opportunities. I think that's a really good learning which we are getting. Sir, we are coming to the fag end of the interview. So I want to ask one question, not really about CS or your journey, but related to your industry. Now, in the last 3-4 years, we are seeing a huge change in this new age fintech companies coming, and there's a lot of talk about the transition of the banking industry as a whole. So with this happening, what is your take on it? Really, will there be a sea change, or is it just another passing phase?
From my experience, I can tell few points. First point is, if you see from the last 1 decade, is that any new startup or a new cycle, the business cycle has come down from back then was 10 years, 15 years to just a matter of 5 years and 3 years. So the business cycle has completely come down to a very short cycle. So you see that a particular company who is into retail, suddenly it will be able to raise so much of money, but at the same time, in a span of, I don't want to take the name, but there is a listed entity which boomed very fast. At the same time, it came down. So what I'm trying to say here is, it's not because of governance issues or so, but the business cycle is such that any new technology, any startup which has run today, there is another competition. So I don't want to take a name. There is one fintech company which was raising funds, a lot of money now. So because my statement will go on a public domain, so I don't want to take a name.
Yeah,
There is
sure.
there is a fintech company which raises huge amount of money, and it's based on a particular platform and technology. And within 3 years or 4 years, there's another company, another group of youngsters who are coming out with a new technology in a much simpler way. The entire process actually shifts to this. When I say, just to give an example, is how many digital transactions happening today versus a decade ago. For example, how many of us are using UPI based other applications? I'm just giving an example like GPay, PhonePe, or any other thing. And you have also payment gateways also, right?
Correct.
I'm saying this from the angle is, the moment the UPI came in, everybody started connecting with UPI. UPI is again, sort of a very good invention that has happened for the India. And a lot of other countries are trying to replicate this model. And we are pioneers, we can say so, that, the India is able to convert itself most of the transactions in digital way, especially now in this COVID scenario and lockdown scenario.
Yes.
You can go to, internet and search for, transactions which are converted into digital from physical. So now we are in a phase called as phygital.
Yes.
From that, probably we might end up going to a completely digital transformation also. Why I'm saying this is from the angle of, since you asked this question, is financial entities coming, a lot of fintechs, is you have to see from the angle of business cycle. Business cycle is dependent on technology today. If somebody comes with a new technology, this fintech is over, there's a new fintech coming up. So as far as the industry financial sector is concerned, it will continue to be in the same fashion because of they can add up fintechs to the process and add technology to the processes. That's like upgradation. It's just like you have a Windows 8 and then Windows 10. You keep on upgrading it, but the process remains same. You go to the start, then click on Word, and then you type. That will not change. So I'm just giving an example of how the sector would perform. Other thing in India is about majority of the Indians have a habit of savings. So that will not immediately shift, though they are youngsters, but they do have a little bit of responsibility when it comes to salaries. Considering this lockdown situation or last year's a little bit of economic slowdown, you would see that the savings related behavior will increase. It is increasing and it will increase. It could be in different platforms. I'm not saying X or Y. It could be through SIP, it could be mutual fund, it could be insurance, it could be anything. It could be savings. You never know what it is. Some they try to put it in equity and they want to try their luck there also. So equity is not a platform where you need to try your luck. It's more of, again, a more research-based way of doing things in that. So when I say this, fintechs can only add up to the process. It's just like a bogie to the train. They can't, immediately take over the train. It's not possible because one is the mentality of the Indian, as I said, the people, and the second thing is we are highly regulated entities. Financial sector is a very sensitive and a trust. We are the trustees of the entire economy. The entire financial or banking system is the trustees of the entire economy, because whatever they need, this is what actually helps them out. So therefore, there will be little bit of here and there, plus or minuses coming up. You see that there are a lot of new fintechs coming up, but it's all about banks are still growing, if you see so. So that way, as I said, we can add up bogies to it to become bigger, train. So
I think that insight is very interesting. So fintech companies is more about the technology and not more about the finance, because finance is still the traditional sector. And like you said, it's like a bogie to the train, and finance will also be very strong going further. Banks are growing. And you also mentioned about how people will start saving more with COVID and the lockdown and the change in mentality, where we want to save for the rainy day. I think these insights is what we do this interview show for, because the expert opinion and the way you looked at it is very different. Because most of the opinions which our viewers would see is more about fintech, and it's going to grow in a big way. But the angle you brought in was very interesting, sir. So we
So,
are coming to the
sorry,
yes, sir.
I'm saying from the angle of not only fintech, but I'm saying any startup for that matter, you take any
Yes,
business, there's a very short cycle.
correct.
If they want to make it bigger, their business model should be strong enough and they should have a financial backup strong enough. Otherwise,
Yes,
fintechs will, I mean, you would see that startups, of course, they will generate employment or new technology, knowledge, and all that. But somewhere they end up consolidating with other guys. There is no
correct.
other choice but to either swim or to go with another person or tie up with another person. Because
Yes,
ultimately, in order to go to, there's a concept called as transformation. In a second layer of transformation, you need capital and the energy and the resource and your capability to grow to the next level. So that survival is very, very important. So that is where the gap comes into picture. And I'm not only saying about fintechs, but also about any startup for that matter. You go and check this, is that the business cycles are becoming shorter and shorter.
Hmm. Yes, sir, that was really interesting. So we're coming to the end. We want to ask you, what is your message for all the people who are pursuing this course, or someone who's just about starting their career? What is your message to them?
I can say one thing is there is no age bar for this. So whenever you start good, and there's a lot to learn. I'm still learning, so don't be disheartened that you saw the dead end of failure because you could not clear. I've seen a couple of friends of mine who cleared 15th attempt, 16th attempt, and 17th attempts. They are all practicing company secretaries in Bangalore, and today they are all well-renowned company secretaries because a number of times they attempted, they remember everything in their mouth. So it's tip of finger. You have every other information available because he has studied that subject X number of times. So always see that as a blessing in disguise. Yes, hardships are going to be expected, and they should be taken in a positive manner to see that you grow further. There is nothing called as word called as settled. There is no word called as settled. Check with all the millionaires that you have. Millionaires they are not settled. They will keep on growing. So how they grow, it's another again a business model. I can take up some other time, but uh, you know, a job, a salary-based job, you can be comfortable, contemplate. It is all fine, provided you can take care of your future finances. But you need to grow in the sense from the angle of broaden your knowledge base. You would be very much interested in music. You might be very much interested in Sanskrit. But whatever you do, go deep into it to see that you know everything in Sanskrit, A to Z of it, how to interpret things. If you know music, you should know everything in the music that you do. So go deep into it. That's what I'm trying to say is that you've got to learn a lot of things in that field. So I can say one thing is there is no word called a settle. You have to continuously grow. Then only it is possible for you to widen your knowledge base and improve your thinking capability, widen horizon, uh, so that you can you can say one thing is that you can live much more comfortable way.
I think that was a wonderful message. One is, make sure that you keep growing and keep learning. There is nothing called as settled. And most importantly, which I really liked, is that don't worry about failures, even if you face them, because there's a very bright future lying ahead. So that was CS Prasanna Patil, who spent quite some time with us. And we really learned a lot right from his experience of being a student of CS course all the way till now being the company secretary of a big bank like Karnataka Bank Limited. So thanks a lot once again, sir, for your time. We really thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you very
Pleasure,
much.
pleasure talking to you.
So that was CS Prasanna Patil. For more such episodes of the world of company secretaries, make sure that you subscribe to our channel and learn and get inspired from famous company secretaries in India and abroad. Thank you very much.